Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you're all doing okay. Definitely a release stream. Cisco, thank you all for joining me. Hello, Fortuna, Beans, Pumpkin Cake, Bambi, Vilea, am I pronouncing that right? Mulna, hello. Cisco, thank you for joining me. It's been I'll be honest with you guys, it's been kind of a rough week. Work-wise, it's been okay. It's still been pretty distracting, I think, here in America. There's quite a lot going on. My grandma got diagnosed with COVID, so that's wonderful. Knock on wood, thankfully she seems to be doing okay thus far, but it's, touch and go, so we're taking that one day at a time. And unfortunately, I was discussing this with the team earlier, we're at kind of an inflection point here where there are a couple of outstanding issues on the Legendary Edition Classic Skyrim build that we'd like to fix. I'd very much like to fix. It's just a somewhat significant time sink because there's a couple mods that are not the versions that we use are not available anymore, which means that we'd have to update, and that means we'll have to test them to make sure that everything's okay in the new versions and that it doesn't cause any other issues. And of course that all kind of takes away from Special Edition, which is plunking along quite nicely, I'd say. Yeah, oh well. That dang Granty boy, Immersive College of Winterhold, updating his mod and adding cool features and fixing issues. But for our sake, unfortunately, it does cause some additional issues. Thank you guys very much. I mean, it's just one of those things. We don't completely know how she got it yet. We have some ideas, but it's like my grandma, she's pretty quarantined. She doesn't go anywhere. So it's kind of crazy that she got it still. And just, taking it one day at a time. It's a wild time to be alive for all of us, I think. But we do what we can, and what more is there to do besides press onward? With that said, what I'm going to be doing immediately right now is going through the... Oh, nice, Liz. It's 2 doses, right, of the vaccine? I think you have to have one and then another one subsequently. Thank you guys very much. I do appreciate it. The schedule, they released the schedule, right, for when the rest of us should see the vaccine, and unfortunately, people I think in my age group, in my wife's age group, will be just about last, age and health group, just about last on the list. But I mean, that's, it makes sense. And I mean, it's a bummer, of course. I mean, who doesn't want to be kind of vaccinated and done with this? Well, most people, I'd say. But, there's so many. I mean, my wife Liz and I are very lucky that we can quarantine safely, and, we're both still working. So we are about the... It makes sense. Excuse me, I just ate a bagel, so I'm all burpy. Makes sense that we're, kind of last in line. It's just how it's got to be. I understand. Vilea, I don't know when Requiem 5.0 will come out. It's tricky. I know that the dev team is very busy at the moment. I know that Ogre Boss, the lead dev, has recently gotten a promotion at his work, which is really cool. He's leading a team. And I know that COVID has created a bunch of problems for them, which is really unfortunate. So I know that's kind of, in the way, just kind of how it's got to be. I understand. That's really cool, Molna. Yeah, I mean, you're on the front lines. You need that vaccine. April for you, huh, Liz? I'm supposed to be like June, July, I want to say. Oh, Loyal Turn. I've been doing streams on Monday for at least a smidge now. I think it works better for my schedule in general. Yeah, it makes sense, Molna. Makes perfect sense. That's what I mean. It's of course a bummer. Everyone wants to get on out of quarantine, etc. But there's just, I'm happy. Maybe not happy. I'm perfectly fine waiting for, you know, our group, because there are people who need it a lot more. Where is this going to take me? This bookmark. Not where I want to go. So right now, what we are doing is going through the actually Minor Arcana is updated to 4.0.1 by the lovely The Trader, who, if you are a Requiem modder, you will be familiar with The Trader, because he is the, I mean, I don't know if they consider him a part of the official team or whatever, but he absolutely has contributed to the main dev branch of Requiem, especially with like a bunch of sorting stuff, which is really, really cool. But The Trader is responsible for a large swath of patches for Requiem, and The Trader's work is impeccable. So it's really cool that we have an official The Trader update to Minor Arcana. I just have to go through and make sure everything is kosher, and then I have to decouple our dependency from the version I manually updated. And I also have to remove uSleep dependency from these plugins, the updated plugins, because they're still Legendary Edition plugins, of course. I feel you, Loyal Turn. That's a pretty good idea, and it's also difficult to do it in these times, I think, so power to you. Hello, Plot. Thank you for joining us, as always. Great to hear from you. Capital. I'm assuming that's Cap. Oh, what? Peon. What are you talking about? Okay, guys, we got to look at that immediately. Capital Windhelm expansion. Capital Winchell expansion. Shall we see? I'm assuming this is the same person as Capital Whiterun expansion, in which case, that is absolutely wild. Let's see what we got here. This is concept art. Expands Windhelm 2 directions. Wow. I'm okay, Valentine. Thank you for asking. Not great. Not the best. Major English Esquire. Thank you for joining us. I love this music. It's quite calming for me. Jestum Smurfed. I'm pronouncing that hopefully correctly. I have heard of Requiem for a Knave. I think it's really, really cool. There's a lot of stuff in there that I think is really solid, and I liked it so much that I went. Most of the time, I don't make Jira tickets for new mods. What I'll generally do is just kind of download them and kind of stick them in my pile to make them into tickets later. But for Requiem for a Knave, I did make a ticket because I liked what it was doing so much, and there were, because the scope is so large, I made a ticket. I generally make tickets when there's notes and thoughts that I have that I want to make sure I don't forget. It was a great decision to focus on my work and life. Nice. I imagine when we're off the internet, it's a bit easier to focus on those kinds of things. Very cool stuff. All right, let's take a look at this. Which of the two directions? Many new buildings, multiple shops. Open city layout, new model for the graveyard. Interesting. Pit arenas restored, very cool. Compatible with Pit Fighter. Smith specialized in accent. Racism. All tiny. Very cool. Man, so if I'm looking at this correctly, it looks like the direction that it's not crazy expanded in is the east, which is really good because that was an area that I wanted to expand into with holds. And that would work out really nicely. And then maybe with the other guys, I have so many plans for these major cities to just make them so cool and grand and expanded. Those of you who got to see last week's stream saw the Whiterun Valley 3.0, which is just chef's kiss. Yeah, Mulnut. Wow, coincidentally, that's exactly what I'm talking about, and I had not even read your message. Coincidental. Nice hairline. My hairline? My hair is real messed up today. You can see I have not showered today. That's why I got this tuft of hair. So no, the mod highlights models and you click on them. That is called More Informative Console, I want to say, Valentine. All right, well, let's see if we can get like a nice aerial view. Cool. If those of you who don't know, this pit, the Windhelm pit, is actually in the game files. It was supposed to be, I presume, in the game to begin with. Have you guys, well, those of you who didn't watch the last stream would have seen it, might not have seen it, but the mod that is allowing like algorithmic AI generated voice acting from like the core voice actors, it's not More Informative Console? Are you sure, Loyal Turn? I might double check that. I'm pretty sure that's it, but I could be. Oh, you know what? Maybe you're right. Shit. If it's not, then I can't remember. We can take a look in a hot second, though. Heck, here, let's do it really fast, just to be on it, to be sure. All right, seems like a channel that should use black metal as a music. Took a 180. I like black metal well enough. I don't really listen to it so much on my own. But I like it a lot. I used to listen to a lot of hardcore. I was more of a just kind of like punk leaning, I would say, than I ever got into like black metal. But I really do like metal. Many different variations of metal. Hair metal, black metal, death metal, speed metal. Oh, yeah. Misfits, completely. Fucking Minor Threat. I mean, if we're getting in, that's more the punk side. I mean, like Descendants. That's all punk, right? For hardcore when I was in... I just had a lot of good friends in high school, actually, who got me into the hardcore that they were listening to at the time. This was like in the 2000s, late 2000s. So stuff like Ceremony and Sabertooth Zombie, if you guys are familiar. That's right, Peon. You were the one who told us about SKVA, I want to say. Pumpkin Cake figured that was a losing battle, just buzzed it. Actually, buzzed my hair, if you guys remember, not too long ago. That was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. I was so surprised. Reading your message, Mona. Yeah, I mean, Whiterun and all these major cities, stylistically, I think they're really strong. Even if so, that kind of gets old after a while. And also, they're just so rinky-dink, you know what I mean? I mean, they're obviously not going to be like Novigrad or anything like that from The Witcher, but, you get Solitude, you get Windhelm, and you get Whiterun especially. I think you expand those. There's really, really promising options for expanding those cities into something that is a lot more realistically scaled and, frankly, has a lot of other additional cool stuff to do that I think would be great. Riften is tougher. There's not as much stuff for Riften. There's some stuff from Holds that I think is cool. There's a few different options, but... Oh, he's doing Riften next. Oh, thank God. I know everyone... Sir Jomta, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, we all need to send our gamer energy to that man. Or to that person. Oh, yes, plot. Better telekinesis. That's Meh321. Talking about modders who are deserving of our gamer energy. Meh is the absolute legend. And you know what? Let me make sure I've downloaded Better Telekinesis, but I'm almost positive that I did. Playing Horizon Zero Dawn. Keep wondering what Skyrim could be if it did its style of rendering the world. You're talking about the occlusion culling Or you mean like the way the world's set up, Molna? Skyrim has a bigger map, be perfect to expand the cities. Yes, you really do have to run afoul of the wilderness if you start expanding too heavily, right, Taz? But thankfully, I think that a lot of these expansions I have in mind are really good at keeping the major cities kind of localized in the area. I mean, they're expanded, of course, but they're expanded in the way that, you know, Whiterun Valley was, and Capital Whiterun expansion, excuse me. And I'm assuming this one too, where, you know, like if we look at this, it kind of looks like the area that's really expanded upon is kind of like back left, and that's just mountains really in the base game. So it works well, I think. In general, what I would really like to do is wait for Elder Scrolls 6 and wait for the version of the engine and the creation kit that will presumably come out with that. And that's going to be really cool for modders, I think, assuming, of course, that nothing kind of hanky ends up happening with mods on Elder Scrolls 6. But there's a very infamous bug. I mentioned this bug before. It's a Havoc Physics Bug that exists only in Skyrim and Skyrim Special Edition. It doesn't exist in Fallout 4. And this bug prevents you from having world spaces that are of a certain size, we'll say. Essentially, if you go too far away from the origin point of a world space, and a world space is anything, you know, like Tamriel, is what it's called in the base game. It's like Skyrim, you know, Skyrim overworld. If you go too far away from the 0-0 origin point, the physics and collision fail, and you just fall through the world. It's a limitation that at this point we don't think will ever be fixed for Skyrim, that essentially just, you know, limits how big your world spaces can be. And it's a real bummer for, I mean, there's a lot of people who have toyed with the idea of taking something like Skyrim, right, and then making it much bigger, more realistically scaled, we might say. It's obviously such a daunting task, but it would be really cool to at least have the possibility. And really, as it is now, you could kind of do it, but you would need to like make every hold into its own world space. You couldn't do one big seamless one, unfortunately. Occlusion allows it to be so detailed. NPCs are so fleshed out. Yeah, animations have never been Bethesda's strong suit, have they? Unfortunately. You and me both, Levitress. Hello, Archmage. What was the answer? Oh, console commands extender. There we go. Thank you, little Rosie. Much appreciated. Can we get like an aerial view? Oh, wow, it even has like an expansion to the docks. Well, that's kind of tricky because that's where I was hoping potentially to do Skyrim Radioactive. But of course, we can always still do that if we so desire. I expect that he'd have like an aerial view, but perhaps not. Oh, wow, look at that graveyard. Much cooler. Well, you guys want to check this out really fast? We can do like we did in the other stream. Just see for fun what it looks like. Bethesda's animations are improving. In a few more games, they'll look only one generation behind instead of 2 to 3. Knock on wood. Let's hope, Monique. You're so right, though. That is such an accurate way to describe it. They are just... I think it's just the engine, to be honest with you. It's just like the way that the engine works and the way that kind of NPCs have to move around and like engage with idle animations, right? Yeah, I guess you do see this in a lot of games. It's like fairly standard. Like I remember Red Dead Redemption can be like this too, right? Where it's like whenever an NPC goes to engage with an animation that's kind of, you know, in a certain spot, like leaning against a wall or something like that, you can generally see when they kind of get up to the point and then return to kind of like a null position and then engage with the animation. But I think generally speaking, almost every game that I can think of that is, you know, a AAA kind of open world game, almost every one blends animations much more effectively than Bethesda seems to. So the moment when they go from, you know, non-animation to animation is not quite as stark in games like Red Dead or The Last of Us. I mean, it's not an open world game, but it's a game that has great animations. Assassin's Creed. All this new stuff assume to impact the release date. Oh no, Molna. So all this stuff that I'm talking about here, these won't be in the initial build. The initial build will be pretty much what's in there now. It just needs to be conflict resolved is almost done, and then of course I got to go in and fix bugs and fix nav meshes and things like that. So these are all kind of future expansions. What I'll likely do is, with our more iterative kind of release process, there will be like, this is the big Whiterun update in which the Whiterun area is expanded and whatever. Like, this is the Riften update. This is the Solitude or whatever. But you guys will be playing long before that, thankfully. All right, let's see here. Capital Windhelm expansion. I think we're going to want to try this on a nice empty profile. Will the next release use an official Requiem release, or will it be sooner than that? It will be sooner than that, KBZ. It is... I'm very likely going to be using the unofficial 4.0.1 Requiem, which is what we're using now. It's already in there, really. Let's do this. We are going to disable... Wait, hold on a second. Hold on just a heckin' moment here. I was working a lot on camera this weekend. That was fun. I was working on camera stuff, and I was working on Dindulod. Dindu-LOD, however you pronounce it, which recently got a 3.0 version that's really, really cool. It's a bit trickier. I say trickier to work with. What I mean is it's really cool, actually. It has a lot more sanity checks. So it actually, for example, will not even let you generate Dindulod now unless all of the errors in your build are accounted for. If there are any outstanding errors that have not been addressed, it doesn't generate, which is pretty crazy. But I'm sure that I think you have a lot less people running Dindulod. I think that the people who do run it will have much more stable builds as they build them. Molna, that's going to have to be your call. It's really the rate of updates for Special Edition. I would like to be much faster. I would like the updates to be smaller and more frequent for Special Edition than they have been on Legendary Edition. But really, we'll kind of have to wait and see. Sanity checks, yes, Monique, they are tricky. That is for sure. Part of me wants to kind of double back and maybe just use an older version for now. I just want to see Special Edition with Dindulod generated, because we've not had it yet. But, I'm a patient boy. I can wait. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to... will I be able to... You know what? Nah, I'll take it easy. I'm going to go disable all visible. Yes, please. And then we're going to disable all of these. And we're going to put Skyrim Unbound. And bopped up to the top. Pretty much enable all of these, I would say. Maybe. So enable selected. Let's see what happens. We're going to get some that don't have masters. That's okay. Hey, Shepherd Boy. Thanks for being here. Also, yeah, generate grass LODs. I've heard of that new feature. How does it... I mean, I guess maybe I can't ask you how it works if you couldn't get it working. That's very cool. I think that's a fair timeline, Rosie. You guys will definitely get the, kind of initial beta builds, early access builds earlier. And I imagine it'll be in quote-unquote early access for some time. I would consider things like the city expansions to be more like nice-to-haves versus need-to-haves. There are other things I would consider need-to-haves, maybe more like systemic stuff that might be in there. First, Sacroletius, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us. Speaking of which. Oh, what's that, Sack? Hello, hello. What was I doing? I think this will be good. We got Sky UI, we got SKSE. Alright, let's stick it in there. Don't take that out of context. Alright, let's check it out. Yeah, I feel you, Molna. So the benefit to having it pre-generated. It's working fine. There's so much grass is running over 16 hours. Oh my god. I understand. I'm glad, Taz. I do love this song. What was it? Loyal turn? Sorry, I missed it. Now I can't scroll because my game is full screen. Please feel free. Spam the chat all you want. Man, did we already run through all 6 build songs? Do you have a chance to try out the carry weight overhaul mod I told you about? Yes, yes I did, actually. I thought it was really, really cool. After a certain point, I started to wonder if it wasn't just simpler to... So that mod is kind of a continuation of realistic carry weight, right? Where you kind of have slots, we'll say, for your various items. Like you can carry X amount of arrows and carry X amount of large weapons and things like that, which makes a lot of sense. However, I kind of still feel like we can approximate that system and make it more straightforward, almost just if we... Like, I think you kind of accomplish the same goal just by reducing the amount of carry weight. And I mean, first of all, I'd like to change that number to... Or that quotient, instead of calling it carry weight. If you call it, like... I think you told me this in, like, D&D. Someone said that in D&D, it's referred to as, like, encumbrance value, which I think is a better framing, because that implies that it's not just weight, it's also like the difficulty of carrying a thing around, right? It's kind of the volume of it almost that's being incorporated in. But let's say you just give someone 50 carry weight and you let them fill it up as they please. I feel like that mostly accomplishes the goal of that carry weight mod, just with less kind of stringency, if that makes sense. Hello, Tayson. Thank you for joining us. Monique, that's with the grass? Illusion spell cooldowns. This mod makes targets temporarily immune, prevent spamming the effects on them. Makes sense. Cool stuff, dude. I think we're all, you know what we're really hoping for? We're hoping for, and I know you've told me the difficulties with this, and I understand completely. But your super awesome, like, city expansions and things like that, right? Sweet of you to say, loyal turn. Monday just works better for my schedule, typically. I mean, right now it doesn't matter so much, to be honest. It's like, wait, why is my keyboard not working? Oh, I guess it is. Weird. It's quarantine, right? So it's almost like, right now it could be whenever, but in general, when it's not quarantine, Mondays are easier for me. And I suppose once the build is out, I'll be... Oh, God. Oops. That's annoying. Okay, well, I can't move, so something's wrong. I knew I shouldn't have just enabled all of those like that. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Better idea. We're going to load back our mods. Go bing, bang, boom. Get rid of you friends right here. And then we're going to go all the way up here. What is CK output? What is in here? Oh, face geometry. Okay, that's fine. I don't need that. We're going to start there, and we're going to go all the way up here. Instead of enabling... Oh, yeah, look, we had the Sex Lab framework enabled. I was looking into that for, like, defeat options. Let me tell you, I mean, we'll keep this stream safe for work, but there's very detailed options in that mod, for sure. Okay, disable selected. This ought to do it. That way we don't have anything enabled that we actually didn't want enabled. Oh, Gamepad++ was enabled as well. Makes sense. And we will load... Actually, this will help. Get like a sensible load order right quick. Oh, I didn't finish my... Did I finish my thought on Sacrolatius's beautiful city expansions? God, I would love to have those released, but I understand why they can't be, because they're an amalgam of a million different resources. But you know what? Part of me wants to be like, I'm going to contact those mod authors and be like, can Sacrolatius distribute the things? Thank you, Meta Breaker. Blink spell. Did I download this? I did download this. Okay, I got it. When did he upload this? Oh, that is so much cooler. And this is really good too, because I plan on the what's it called? All of the cities being open like this so that you can climb all over them. So this would be wonderful. Holy shit, that's cool. It does seem like so much better than the default one and very similar to Dishonored. How does he do this? This man. Where is this? I want to see. Is this uploaded? Plot? Hey Paxton, how you doing? Wonder what's taking so long Requiem 5.0. My understanding, Monique, is they're just extremely busy in their personal lives. I know that Ogre Boss is, for sure, and of course he is the lead dev, so I'm sure that has a big impact. Thank you, Plot. I've not seen that. I am definitely downloading it. Stick this one in the pile for sure. Met is just a gosh darn wizard. That is awesome, Sacrolatius. Oh, that's super cool. The different spirit animals. I love it. Want to see how many graphics mods I can cram into improving Whiterun before my PC explodes. That's the fun, right? Mod it until it breaks. Modding is the game, after all. Okay, I think we should be good to go. Let's try. That music is so nice. Calms me down. You guys know what I want to do? We've been having hot water problems, so I haven't gotten to do this. I tried to do it over the weekend, but my back has just been killing me lately from like sitting in this chair all the time. Even standing up, it's just like not good at the moment. So I'm really trying to get a more regular exercise schedule in, hopefully to kind of fill that out. And also I just want to go in like a hot tub, like a really, really hot tub, and just trying to relax my muscles, right? It's like I could probably do that if I run a bath, but again, we need hot water. My spirit animal is a mud crab. What would my spirit animal, Skyrim spirit animal, be? I think maybe a husky. It's so true, isn't it, Sakura? It's like, I think the problem solving is what appeals to a lot of people. It certainly does to me. I can tell you what does not appeal to me is what is essentially data entry in Xedit, which is just, of course, necessary sometimes. But it's like the fun part is identifying a problem and then working to solve it. Implementing the fix is not as fun, typically. Spirit Animals Nazim. That is, if so, Cisco, I applaud you for your honesty. I don't think many people would be so forthright about it. Requiem Trolls, that's a good one. Requiem Trolls they're cool creatures. Misunderstood, perhaps. Hello, Prince Wolfchild. I can't remember if I said that already, but if not, hello again. Or if so, hello again. There we go. Now it's working properly. Netch. Netches are cool. Gentle creatures, it seems. I've never seen a Netch do anything mean to anybody. Plus, they can fly. I think. Hover. It counts as flying, right? Nazim's spirit animal is crippling insecurity. I don't know how that manifests from a summon. Wow. Look, we're in Solitude. Look, it runs so smoothly because there's no mods installed. Okay. I'm gonna go Windhelm Exterior 01. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh. It's coming. Recursive spirit animals. Okay. Let's see. Look at that. Wow. That looks about the same over there. I like that there's stairs down, finally. Wall side in. I like that. Let's see what the interiors look like. I mean, this is beautiful. Big wall. Huh, cool. Hello. There's whole ass quests. Are you kidding me? Look at that. Oops, I didn't mean to pull my weapon out. Gorgeous. Spriggans are very cool. That's crazy. A love child of an elephant and a hot air balloon. I love that. Very cool. Let's see what the inn looks like. Dude, see, interior lighting is always so tricky for people to do. It's like these dynamic lights. I wonder what is casting this kind of blue light. Usually, sometimes you can see them. Interesting. I'm gonna sneeze. I mean, this is not bad by any means. I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Hello. You go underneath the floorboards. Oh, cool. Do you see the snow on the next to the door frame? I'm gonna sneeze again. Ugh. Pardon me. Thank you. Fortunately, all I can hear is the Sims music. I can't hear the game. Ooh, I like this. This is a lot more open. Feels a bit less claustrophobic. I would never sneeze into the mic. Unless I accidentally did, in which case I totally would, I guess. No one ever gives Windhelm any love, so this is really cool to see. I don't blame them, of course. Windhelm is not a fun place to work on, unfortunately. Palace of Kings. Beautiful. Oh, can't go this way anymore. Maybe over here? Yes. Maybe you never could go this way. In fact, you know what? I think you couldn't. Now that I stop to think about it. My gosh! Look at this. Here's the pit, most likely. Cool. Rad. Digging it. Vanilla Windhelm's the best looking city in the game. That is a hot take, my friend. I think many people would disagree with you, but I'm, you know, I don't know if I'd say it's the best looking city, but I would say that it is certainly far more interesting than people kind of generally tend to think, I think. Wow, look at all this. So this is all going to interfere with Hold's expansions for sure, but that's not the end of the world. As Sacroletius knows, there is always a means of, you know, building it out. Yeah, so you can see the interior lighting, I think, was generally done from like the same template. Why is this door so small? Hello?
Here, take this. No.
That's a very smart way of getting around voice acting. Oh, the more I see, the more I like this author. Brilliant. It's we'll see, like, so it is tiny. Of course all the major cities are tiny, but like stylistically it's really cool. Oh wow, and they have their own kind of expansion here. Reminds me of JK's. You can get up on the roof. I like that they kind of thought about that. Very cool stuff. I think that's true for many people, Bambi. Oh, I'm going to sneeze again. Oh, someone texted me. Uh-oh. Okay, thank God. My uncle texted me to say that he and my cousin did not get COVID from my grandma, which is good to hear. Beautiful. Dug out the entire western part of Windhelm, made it another dock. Nice, Sacroletius. Yeah, Windhelm is, I think that's kind of a common experience too, Pumpkin, is that it doesn't feel very hospitable, especially not if you are a non-Nordic race. I think that's kind of by design. It's almost too effective at its oppressive atmosphere, we might say, right? But I do think it's pretty cool. It's very unique. Let's see what we got this way. Wow. Look at this. So cool. And like, imagine transferring all this into the open cities world space where you can like climb all over everything. Like, cool stuff. This is crazy. I can't even believe what I'm seeing right now. Can you get over here? Almost. Can't do it. Yeah, with the blink spell, exactly. The teleport model will consume magicka. I'm not sure. You could very easily, I'm sure, edit it to do so if it doesn't already. Oh, look, you can interact with the script. Could you always do that? Oh, what buff did I get from that? The Warrior Stone. What? Oh, no. Why did I assume it's that? Resist Frost. Herald's Boon. The Warrior Stone. That must be it. Interesting. Oh, you can get multiple. Health is increased by 30. That's a lot. Time between chat. These are crazy overpowered buffs, but of course you could always fix that. Or just remove them. Of course, you'd also want to try and like connect this stuff with like the sewers and everything. Yeah, the interior lighting seems to be one of the biggest bugaboos for people. This is not, again, not bad by any means. I often find these are kind of everywhere. Why is the field of view in Oldham so... SE does feel a little different, does it not? In terms of field of view. Like, even though I'm at 90, it still kind of feels like I'm zoomed in somehow. I don't know how else to describe it. 105, huh? Let's try that. Oh, wow. That is definitely more. Let's see here. Now that it's like, I can see like the distortion. Maybe 100? 95 old rims, 105 SE. Interesting. Does that mean 100 SE is 90 old rim? Wabbajack creates his own instance. Yes, that is exactly correct. Crazed God. Excuse me. What? A talking broom? Or an automated broom? Must be enchanted. Yeah, see, I want to be able to climb on all this stuff. This is very cool, though. Look at this. You can jump down over here. At least he already made it so that you can kind of walk around on the rooftops. That's rad. Oh, uh-oh. I spoke too soon. I mean, still, generally speaking, it's like that, I think. Wait. You guys ready to parkour? I can't jump that. I can't make it up there. I can do this, though. Haha. I cheat. How about... Oh, whoops. We haven't been over yonder yet. Yes, my character is the last airbender. Okay. So this area seems relatively the same. The rich people district. Go this way. That's where we made a right before, right? That's back towards the Palace of Kings. I'm the killer. I'm running. Go to the blacksmith area. On it. I mean, this graveyard, too, is very cool. It's much cooler, I think, than the OG. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that. It definitely feels just more realistically scaled, I guess you would say. What the heck over here? Oh, it's an alternate way into the city, perhaps? Looks like an FPS devourer, though. Are you running any texture mods? I'm not, Archmage. It's my... Whoa. I'm stuck. I can't go in. I think that my computer doesn't like when I stream a whole lot. I wonder... That might be a bug. Because I don't really have anything. I turned off all the mods. So most of this should be kind of generally vanilla. Did I see that move? Do you guys see that? Very cool. That looks really nice, actually. So this one's really good. Hello, Muffington. Yes, I'm going to imagine all brooms being alive. I already do because of Harry Potter. Or at least I imagine them to have somewhat of a mind of their own. I was stuck. Cool. Wilhelm's Winter Warehouse. Very cool. So there's a lot of stuff here. Like, my gosh, of course, we already use so many city overhauls, like JKs and things that, you know, ideally you'd talk about FPS eater. That would really tank it, and especially when you stick it in open cities. But could you imagine, right? Like imagine, you know, a mix of this mod plus like JKs and Dawn of Skyrim plus some, you know, Skyrim Radioactive for the docks out front plus some Holds expansions, and then make it all in open cities, right? FPS devourer, but I think it would be worth... To me, it's worth it generally for the cities because you typically aren't doing anything that's super like Twitch skill, right, in the cities. It doesn't matter so much if the performance is not as good there. And I think that heavy use of occlusion planes would be very useful. I'm not really sure how much these mods tend to use those. We can take a look real fast for fun. Skyrim squared. I want to imagine the time spent in CK to conflict resolve. I think the not only would the conflict resolution be pretty tough, but you would really have to, like, the most time would be like Sacroletius's style of doing things, where you're just in the CK, like editing nav meshes and moving objects around that are all in the same spot. Like, that would be the real time sink, I'd say. Very cool stuff. All right, let's just take a little look-see. Let's see what kind of occlusion planes we got running here. Just right quick. Sometimes I think that mods don't use them, and actually they are using them, and it's just, you know, the side effect of putting a bunch of stuff. I feel you, loyal turd. Okay, let's see. World space. Windhelm. Just twirl it all open, really. Let's go editor ID. Collision marker. What are they called? I can never remember. Any sick modders in the room remember what the name of the occlusion planes are by default? Let's see. I always forget this. I don't think it's occlusion plane. I know cutting room floor uses a bunch of them typically. Let me search. Hold on just a moment. Blink spell. Marker Skyrim SSE. You'll see it here. Occlusion. Occlusion system tracks with objects running in the player view. Of course. Occlusion allows for drawing. Well, that is flat wall of occlusion. Things behind it will render. That's cool. Except it still doesn't tell us what it's called in Xedit. Unfortunately, we might be able to find it if we go to just like Skyrim default. Let's go to world space. We can start with Windhelm. Why not? These are just marker references. Come on, baby. What do you got for me? It might not be a persistent reference either. It might be a temporary, but I am not sure. I'm not really, to be honest, like crazy up on what sort of references are temporary versus permanent. Come on, baby. Give me something here. I hate digging around Skyrim ESM. It's always super weird. Anyone created home the entrance is the Thieves Guild secret entrance? If not, I might. Always wanted one. I have not. Civil War Overhaul Redux. Nice plot. Let me take a look in like a half second. Oh, I'm yawning today. I'm sorry. It's been I'll be honest, guys. It's been a hell of a week. Past few weeks, really. Something about going into the new year, too, still being in quarantine. It's just like, But you know what? Keep calm and carry on. It's the least we can do. Am I crazy? Let's go back to Google. Also, I want to see this. Apollo Down has not returned to modding, unfortunately. Oh, Scofida. What? I didn't know that he was doing this. It is not as of now. I need caffeine. Classic Apollo down. Here it is in all its outdated meme glory. Let's see what the changelog is. It's cool stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's largely the features from Civil War Overhaul. Include a fix or two from Open Civil War. Nice. Hello, rear aisle. Well, I can't find this offhand. I feel like if I might be able to find it if, like, I don't want to go into the CK and place an occlusion plane, you know what I mean? Give me those, not temporary references. I want permanent ones again. That's all I got. I think it's a permanent reference. Plane marker. This might be it. Maybe. Static. Search O. Nope. Plane. I feel like that's probably it, right? Or like, let's, okay. We can do this. No. And then C. Like, I'd be very surprised if not. Yep. So this tells me, and if we're right, and if the plane marker is in fact the occlusion planes, then it is, Windhelm SSE is using them. So, oops. Looks like we're going to have a big performance problem on our hands. Unless we try to merge all that stuff. Oh boy. Pardon me. Oh, I can't even stand up either. I can't make my standing desk go up because I'm not wearing pants. I wonder how many people like me just stream in their boxers. No free shows. Okay. Well, that was fun to look at. Thanks for going on that little journey with me, everybody. Very cool stuff. Promising, beautiful work by Sir Jomte, as per usual. Alright, we'll get out of there. And then let's get back into the meat of it, shall we? Boom, baby. I don't think pants are allowed on Twitch, but also showing unpanted legs is forbidden. Is that actually true? I wonder. Gotcha. I have no idea what comes and goes, what's allowed on Twitch. It seems, I know the hot take, everyone's hot take is that Twitch... Uh-oh, why do I have a... Hold on. What do I have missing? Oh, I know why I have missing masters, because I don't have freaking this business. There we go. Yeah, what causes white or very light distance objects like mountains? I would have to see like a screenshot, Taz. Could be something E and B related, but that's pretty atypical. I don't really see much like that. Ah! I need like an emote for yawning because I do it so much. Okay. Now we can jump back in. Oh shit. Well, here we go. Hold on a second. Hold on, everybody. Don't look. I actually have a pair of pants just sitting here. Normally I wear pajama pants, you know, because it's 2021 and we're in quarantine. These are like regular pants. I can put those on, right? First person I've watched stream, and I was disappointed to learn not every streamer talks and interacts. I'm afraid I do it too much, Molna. Although I say this every time. Like, to be honest, for me, the Look, there it goes. Help. I'm sinking. Oh no. For me, the primary purpose of the streams, at least for now, I guess I didn't really even need to put pants on, did I? Because you can't see it anyway. It's to interact with you guys, right? It's like a means of kind of keeping you up to date with what's going on with the project. I only stream once a week as of now, so I kind of prefer spending the time talking with y'all and answering your questions and just kind of bringing you up to speed, so to speak. I mean, I feel you completely. Whenever I don't watch a ton of Twitch, but I do watch it sometimes. I like to watch speedrunners who I find through like AGDQ. Sometimes I watch other things, but it really is a very... The first time I ever popped into a stream and like said hello to the streamer or said something, I can't remember what, and they reacted, I felt like I immediately understood, right? The appeal. It's so cool to interact with someone live whose work you enjoy or whose games or gameplay or whatever. It's like a very special experience. I've had that experience. I remember feeling that way with Sacriletius, with Tayson. I've been on Tayson's streams before, and it's just like, oh my god, he's talking to me. So I get it. I do. I don't know how... Or like our man Balian. Does anyone know him? He's a fucking amazing player. I don't know how all the streamers like play games while also keeping up with their chat. I suppose I can see it. I feel like I've gotten better a bit over time. But it is tricky. It's very hard for me to balance, at least. Yeah, I've heard that Tayson and I are similar in that way. We try to mod, right? It just... I don't know. It's like when I'm modding, I'm always going to be more efficient when I'm offline, which is why I choose to do so much stuff offline. It's kind of the only time that I can really focus, like truly focus. But I don't know. It's definitely gotten easier over time, at least a little. Like, I don't feel quite so obligated to respond to every single thing that people say or read the messages out loud. Sometimes I just do it because then it's like, you guys know exactly who and what I'm responding to, of course. I feel you, Taz. It's really weird for me, especially. I imagine for other people too. It doesn't come naturally to me to stream and to kind of interact live. Now I quite enjoy it. Most of the time, it's just kind of different. I feel you, Molna. I feel really bad for people who are trying to build their following through Twitch, because that seems like it would be extremely difficult. It does kind of feel like I have a good friend who's he's kind of starting his streaming. He's a game developer, and he told me once that it's a very strange feeling to you just kind of have to talk, right, into the ether, and it's like an odd feeling. I think I know some element of that because that's kind of like what my like Let's Plays were like, right? But it's different because there's no implication, there's no carried expectation that there would be someone replying because it's offline, right? It's like me recording offline. What is this business? Yeah, most of the time when I'm doing this now, I just reply to you guys and then very slowly go through whatever modding tasks I'm doing. Have you seen Monochromatic? Oh, hey, Uncle Robert. What's up, by the way? I somehow, if you were saying anything before, I missed it. I have not seen her, but I will check it out for sure. Let me write it down. Oh, you guys want to see something cool? And someone asked me, I saw it and then I forgot to reply. Metabreaker, what games do I play? So lately, I play like a few different things. It cycles through all kinds of stuff. I haven't gotten to play a whole lot of games on my own these days, but I've been playing a lot of Risk of Rain 2 with friends. For a while, I was playing a lot of Warzone with the boys, which for me now, it's a fun game, but it's just feels like it's getting worse and worse, and I'm having less fun with it. Maybe I'm just burnt out on it. Hey Donkey, how you doing? I have been playing, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Myst just got re-released on VR. There's like a VR version of Myst, right? So we have been routinely kind of meeting up online and watching my buddy Tyler, who you guys probably know, watching him play Myst, and we would all kind of like collectively solve the problems together, which is really cool. If you've never played Myst, it's a very awesome puzzle game. We all played it as kids, but of course it was like, we were so young at the time that there's a lot that we didn't really fully appreciate. But so it's really like like you have here, these are like, I don't know if you can see it, or it's like backwards, but we're like mapping out puzzles and stuff, right? Or just like taking all these notes, and we have to like take pictures of things and kind of find the solutions together. It's really, really cool. And next we just finished Myst. Yes, the railcar puzzle. So we I think like many people, as the railcar puzzle, I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it, but it's an infamous puzzle in Myst. It's kind of those kinds of things where it's stuck in everyone's collective memory as this like extremely difficult, like what the fuck kind of thing. But it's actually quite easy once you figure out what the clue is supposed to be, and we actually had a very good time with that puzzle once we figured out how we were supposed to be solving it. Streamlabs slaps you in the face. Stream statistics. Oh yes. So I actually turned off the viewer count. I missed that message from Molna. I've turned that off on my OBS window because I didn't like it. It definitely felt like I would just see it, and if I saw it go up or down or whatever, then it just felt like a bummer. You know what I mean? I think it's not super healthy, or at least I don't know. I can't say that. It didn't work for me very well. Me and the boys, collective brain power of one adult human being. Totally. Well, sometimes I feel like it's worse. Like, you know, we'll all be like, oh, do this thing, do that. And everyone's like talking at the same time. Yeah, Donkey, that's kind of like how it was for us too. We played these games when we were kids. I don't think we ever beat them. Riven in particular, I think, is even harder than Myst. But it's really fun. It was like it kind of feels like collectively solving an escape room. If you guys have ever been to an escape room. But it's one where only one person can kind of affect what's in the escape room. And also, yes, Uncle Robert, like, I think for many people, and I would include myself in this camp, like, retroactively, I think for many people, Myst was one of the first video games that really showed, like, how amazing the art element of games could be, because it was this fantastical world with all this super cool visual design and sounds, and like it's all like it uses sounds for puzzles. It's really brilliant, and just it's like it's a delight for the imagination in a sense. Even the concept of Myst, where you have, you know, these books where every book is a portal into some fantastical new dimension. It's like so cool. To this day as well. You're totally right. Oh yeah, so we've been playing that. And another thing that we play a lot is me and my boys Tyler, Roland, and Jordan have an ongoing Stardew Valley multiplayer session that we have been at for pretty much all of quarantine. That's been really nice because it's kind of just like, it's all of it's just, you know, this is the most kind of social contact all of us get. I'm lucky in that me and my wife both live here. You know, we have each other. But for a lot of my friends, you know, who aren't married or whatever, it's, I imagine, like tremendously lonely. Thanks for joining us, Loyal Turn. Have a good night's sleep. I've been having trouble sleeping lately. I don't know what is going on exactly, but something, that's for sure. It's just like I wake up every morning with headaches and stuff. Maybe we have mold or CO2. That's been our running joke. These should generally be okay. Just double checking these to make sure everything's Gucci. Yeah, I imagine. It's I mean, it's obviously anything presents challenges, whether you're by yourself or with someone else for quarantine, but my God, like, I'm so grateful to have my wife here with me. And my heart goes out to anyone who's been feeling lonely in these times. And I hope you have, kind of a means of connect, even if it's stuff like this, I mean, like we are social creatures. We need connection. That's interesting. I guess I'll remove these. Drinking enough water. Maybe not. I mean, it's possible. I don't drink that much caffeine, though. I have like a cup of coffee every day, and sometimes I'll have like a Diet Coke or like a Rockstar, but not super consistently. But I could always drink more water. I try to drink water. I got my big old 40 ounce here, but sometimes I only get through like one a day. I should probably drink more than that. I'm sorry about that, Bambi. That's like a whole other... It's almost like the opposite problem, right? Where it's like you have to go out in public if you're an essential worker, and then you're just dealing with the constant feeling of fear of, becoming infected by people who aren't taking the virus seriously and things like that. An hour late. How's the US 64 dev going? It's going well, Donkey. I mentioned earlier that the last 3 weeks, I'll be honest, have been less productive comparatively. I think that it's kind of just like the intersection of, more quarantine along with everything that's been going on, in the world and here in America. Oh, that's interesting. But, I mean, it's plunking along. I have kind of the last conflict resolution to do. I have to put in the Dragonborn content, which is Fozars, but that's not too bad at all, I don't think. I mean, it's a little time consuming, but nothing tremendously difficult. Then something I have to do, this actually might be a bit tough, kind of like the last conflict resolve bit, you might say. Oh, this is interesting. Is the crafting system. I have to go through all the recipes that I edited for Legendary Edition and kind of fix them, or basically like revert a lot of the changes while maintaining some others, because I got some cool plans for crafting. And that's going to be time consuming. But at that point, that's pretty much... Like, then I have to clean up certain areas of the game. I have to fix the nav meshes, and I have to clean up, like, inns that have kind of some errant edits between different mods. But really, like, once that stuff is done, I have to, like, build out the preset for the UI and things like that. But that stuff is not so bad. And then it's just a matter of, bug fixing and polishing and play testing and all that kind of stuff. So it's all, it's going along, you can say. The problem is, I think sometimes it feels a bit overwhelming because it's that stuff, and then thankfully these days there's not a ton I have to do in the community, and also, my God, like my team and the support team are just a godsend in terms of how much work they do, kind of helping users. But sometimes it feels overwhelming, just the different elements of the project, trying to, kind of balance it all. Okay, this is all fine. I feel you, Taz. Problems in the US, rumors and hearsay, of course. I mean, according to some people, it is the truth. I won't get super political or anything like that, but I discovered a new subreddit like either last week or the week before. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's QAnon casualties. It's really it's fascinating. It's so sad. It's basically just like friends and family of people who have kind of gotten sucked up into kind of like QAnon conspiracy type stuff. And it's just it's so crazy to read in some cases what just what some of these people have kind of been sucked into, and just like how firmly they tend to believe. It's always been, I mean, conspiracy theories of course have always been around, but I think conspiracy theories become more prevalent when society is experiencing times of extreme discomfort and stress and uncertainty, and that would definitely be now. it's very sad and unfortunate. Do I need this? Why do I even need this in here? Hopefully, Donkey. I don't think that's an unreasonable date, but I mean, it might be a bit. What's the word? Ambitious. Really depends on what amount of polish we want to have the build with. That's dope, Rust. A bit stuck as of now. Any tip for the developing part? I've never worked on any of the Mountain Blade games myself, so I can't really say. If you have specific questions that are pertinent and have overlap with Skyrim, I might be able to help, or with Bethesda games. Seeing a meme with a man holding a Q sent me signed, followed the image of Sir Patrick Stewart. I had nothing to do with this, Picard. I don't understand the reference, Uncle Robert. John Delancey, who is that? Is this a Star Trek reference by chance? I'm trying to think of other things that Patrick Stewart... Obviously, it's an Oblivion reference. Patrick Stewart. I've seen episodes, but I've never seen the whole thing through. I had a friend in college who always told me that I looked like... What is his name? Riker? Meant modding in general, not Mountain Blade. What are you looking for, Rust? What are you getting caught up on? Maybe is a better thing to say, thing to ask. Ooh. Okay. Okay, I feel you. So this is level gating, but in like a different way. Omnipotent alien named Q, who is a longtime rival. Ah, I understand. That's very cool. Yeah, it's so nuts. Like reading some of the theories. I think the part that sane version of Sheogorath, I dig it. I think the part that gets me is like, you can really tell something's like a conspiracy theory, right? When people are like, all right, on this day, this is what's going to happen definitively. And like, we know this for a fact because of X, Y, Z. And of course that day comes and goes. And I think then, you know, the non-believers kind of check in to see like, oh, well, how are the conspiracy theorists going to respond? And of course they just kind of, oh, well, we misread the messages. And actually it was never supposed to happen that day. It was supposed to happen this next other day that's, 3 weeks from now or whatever it is. It's like constantly kind of pushing the goalposts back, which is really sad to say because I have to imagine that's not an easy existence. I don't know. It's a wild time to be alive for all of us, that we are living through history. Right, exactly, Uncle Robert. It's like, you would think that in a situation like that, it's binary, right? It's like, this is how things are definitively going to happen. And you would think that when they don't happen that way, that would be the thing that says, hey, maybe it's not quite as it seems. Maybe what you're believing is not necessarily emblematic of reality. But then just, they can just find another way to keep the train rolling, I guess. We need you. There we go. To be skeptical of anyone who thinks they have the absolute truth. Of course. I mean, actually, I spoke with my therapist about that not too long ago, where it's like, of course we all do our best to critically evaluate everything that we see and hear and whatever. But most everything we hear, at minimum, is relayed to us through a secondary source. Like, no one ever knows the real truth of a situation. It's just unfortunate that you can apply that exact logic to facilitate conspiracy theories, in a way. It's like when something seems extremely unreasonable and unlikely, it's pretty likely that it is unreasonable, but you can just say, well, you never know. 90% heresy. Here we go. We're good to go there. Okay, that's good. Excuse me. Cool, cool. Hearsay. You spelled it correctly. I was making a joke. Heresy is like Heresy, which is also not what you said. I'm just joshing. I'm just palling around. It's all you can do, I think. Okay. Whoa. I mean, I suppose. So I have this edited so that, you know, there's a chance for guards to have other types of weapons and stuff. Like a small chance for an orcish or an elven. I kind of prefer it that way. It's a bit more like varied. Or this, same thing. Those are all about the same. Beep bop boop bop. A way to allow armor changing. Most likely pumpkin. Did they remove that setting in Requiem? I swear that like they made it so that that's, I want to say in like the most recent versions of Requiem they actually removed that feature so that you don't have to worry about it anymore, but I could be wrong. I guess we can put that over there. Who cares, really? Why is this empty? Oh, whatevs. It's fine this way. Brilliant plot. Who knows? Maybe it's true. I can neither confirm nor deny. Oh, it's no problem, Pumpkin. I'm not 100% sure. There's something floating around in my brain where it's like either they added the option back to the MCM to fix it, or they just like took that feature out altogether because it was causing so many problems for people. Curious Light Town. These are utilized by whom? I cannot remember. I don't really like the hide curious that much. I'll remove that one. How does that sound? Minor Arcana. There's a compromise. Hide boots. Shield light. This one's like none. Fine. You win. Drag this one over. Really doesn't matter, but might as well. Oops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Well, in that case, here's what I do. Whenever I accidentally edit a plugin that I did not mean to, I pretty much immediately... Thank you, Donkey. It's the original Sims build music. So we're going to go Control 2. We're going to bookmark that. And then we're going to save. I'm going to uncheck this. And we're going to close. Uncheck this again. Boom. Jump back in. That's an oopsie on my part. Oh, I still have a headache. Maybe it is caffeine withdrawals. Who knows? Feels like incredibly complex, non-gaming music for a game of The Sims. It's so true, isn't it? I mean, I on one of the streams mention how I read an article about the guys who put together this arrangement, and I mean, just recorded all the music, and it's this crazy like flash in the pan where the main guy who did it was just brilliant and just kind of worked with the creators, almost just kind of feeling it out, right? It would send them stuff, and they would kind of provide feedback, and he would tweak it a little bit. And of course, the Sims piano music has become legendary, like as legendary as the game almost. And the guy who did all of the piano, he mentioned how one time his like nephew or something, he like walked in on his nephew playing The Sims, and he was like, oh, I did the music for this game. And at the time, he thought that it was just kind of like a wild coincidence. He didn't realize how big the game was. And, you know, it was like, oh, my nephew happened to be playing this. And he didn't realize until years later that The Sims was this cultural phenomenon, in a sense. So I like that story. I know what you're talking about, Pumpkin Cake. It does sound very similar, that one part. I'm not sure if it's this song. I can't remember exactly which one. There's like 6. And this version that I'm playing right now, it cycles through all 6 for like 10 hours. I listen to this, and I like to put on rain sounds. That's always calming for me. Weapon Bow Town. Huh. Okay, so what is here then? Steel bow, huh? Okay. You win. You win, Minor Arcana. This one I'll remove this. Okay, that's fine. Build and buy have the different mood spot on. Oh, totally. Oh man, when I just think about the I mean they here, let me find the article, cuz it really was a cool read. Sims music story. Here we go. It was a Vice article. Check this out. So if you're curious, I will post the link in chat. So the untold story of The Sims, your first favorite jazz record. Really is brilliant. I'll send it. It's really, I go through all different kinds of music when I'm doing dev work. I've really been feeling this lately, and I mentioned this album in the past as well, but DSVII, I think it's Digital Soundscapes Volume 2 by M83 is just brilliant. It's a wonderful, wonderful album. It is almost entirely instrumental, so it makes for really good background listening. And it's like this beautiful kind of homage to like 80s games and kind of 80s synth soundscapes. It's just really, really cool. It's probably my most listened to album of last year. This is all good to go. Oh, let's see what changes this makes. Oi. What do we got? Perfect. Oh, I could see that, Taz. I want to listen to Fable music. I am a big fan of the Fable series. I feel like I can almost hear it in my head, like the first town music. Something Vale. What was the name of that town? Someone let me know the name of the town, and then I'll Google the music and we can listen to it. Uh-oh. Sorry, I'm checking my phone just to make sure because of this COVID situation. Oakvale, that's what it is. Alright, let's find it. I'll pause here. Ugh. Oakvale theme. Fable OST. Wow, extended for an hour. Deep in the forest of Albion lay the small town of Oakvale, unchanged by time and untouched by the sword. Oh, man. It does. It takes you, like, right back, doesn't it? Fuck, that is nostalgic. I have not heard this in so long. I played the shit out of this game as a youth. I was definitely one of the kids who was just so caught up in the Peter Molyneux hype machine. I remember reading every little bit of information I could get. Just so brilliant. Why I'm huge into The Sims, not my speed. However, the game is cool. I really like The Sims, actually. Every once in a while, I would just reinstall like Sims 2 or Sims 3 and just get sucked in for like a long time and then not touch it again for, like a year or 2 years. I did not play the original Rayman. I played Rayman 2, The Great Escape, quite a lot. I don't think I have any edits to these. Do I? Perfect. Me too, Valentine. I never played Black and White either. It was a bit before my time. I've seen it, though. This is all okay. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze again. Yeah, I agree, Taz. I thought Fable 2 was still cool. Nothing really captured them. I played Fable 3. I didn't play Fable 3, sorry. I watched a good friend play it when I was in college. I think that the magic of the first one just still kind of takes the cake for me. But of course, it's hard with things like that, right? To determine if you're viewing it through kind of nostalgia goggles, right? These are changed, but I'm gonna go ahead and assume that this is fine. So haunting, this music. It almost communicates this idea that perhaps not everything is gonna be okay in the little town of Oakvale. What am I? Okay, that's like our own fix. Maybe I should leave it. I'm gonna leave it for now. I remember that fix. It's, I don't know. 2, again, had some interesting ideas. I always liked the idea of, every NPC, even if they're just kind of generic throwaways, having some sort of pertinence to the game. Like, you can interact with them through various mechanics. That's something I've actually tried to bring to Ultimate Skyrim as well, through mods like immersive speechcraft. But I don't know. I mean, Fable 1, I think that for everything Fable 1 wasn't, that it was supposed to be, it was still an amazing experience for me personally, and I think for many other people too. I think there's a reason why it's so beloved. And it's funny to me because you have, like, overhyping still happens so often. It's like the industry has grown in so many ways and also has not in others, like Cyberpunk or just stuff like that, where, I get it. It's hard not to overpromise sometimes, but my gosh. Yeah, I liked it, Taz. Excuse me. This music is so sleepy. Why are all these perks here if it uses a template? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to Minor Arcana. Let me hide Requiem for the Indifferent real fast, because it's not going to be pertinent for anything we're doing here. What do we have? You get FPS drops and Bannered Mare. If you have ELFX installed, that can definitely drop your frames. It is a pretty intensive mod in some cases. Also, if you have a lot of NPCs in there. Oh, my eyes. I always forget to blink. Man, I gotta listen to this soundtrack. Thank you for reminding me of this. I'm gonna be listening to this week, I think. God, I remember listening to the interview with Peter Molyneux, where he talked about, you know, all these, the reactivity of the world, and how, you know, the example that he kept giving was, you know, like you're at the hero guild, and if the guild master like asks you to make a pie, or someone, the head chef asks you to collect apples to make a pie for the guild master, like, you could not do it, but you know that's going to have consequences. And it's just, he was presenting it as though it was, you know, this is just one example of the myriad ways in which your even the most minute action will ripple out and have consequences. It's almost verbatim the kind of stuff you heard in like the cyberpunk hype. And it's like, nope, not. Maybe once upon a time during the development cycle, this was a reality, but it certainly was not the end product. I want to listen to what was the creepy wooded area? It's not Duskwood. That's World of Warcraft. Who is this? Boland. Northbourne, I believe. Let me bring up on my NPC spreadsheet now. Mpc Appearances, just to make sure I'm restoring the proper appearances. You guys want to see the NPC spreadsheet? This one's pretty wild. This is how I track who has what mod editing their appearance. There's a lot of NPCs in here. Let's see how many. Almost 1,000, I think. 900. Bit shy of 1,000. Where is Boland? Boland is... Oh, I wanted to test male Npc Overhaul, apparently. Okay. That's fine. Bowerstone. Darkwood. Close enough. Duskwood. Darkwood. There's a Darkwood. Reminds me of, you guys familiar with Oni NG of Newgrounds fame, Dragon's Ball P? He has a video of him and his sister. Uh-oh. Oh, no, we're good. Him and his sister, when they're just wee children, explaining the concept of the Easter Bunny. Oh, I want to show it on stream. Yeah, the spreadsheet is wild, right? There are better mods aside from that dark and Skyrim's lighting. We use the combo of real. What do we use for LE? I can't even remember actually. I think it's realistic lighting overhaul, or maybe it's relighting Skyrim. I use on special edition relighting Skyrim plus enhanced lighting for ENB. Oh God! Galactic Emperor Batman has arrived and is now following this channel. Wow. Thanks, Batman. The video that I'm talking about, it's so cute. I'm afraid I'm gonna get demonetized if I show it, but it's so funny. Whenever I think of a wood, I'm just gonna show it. Whatever. Or you know what? Here's what I'll do. I will link it, and then you guys can watch it. It's called Oni NG Easter Bunny. Yes, Lynn and Chris explain the Easter Bunny. Pause. This is so cute. Here you go. There it is in chat. Okay. Back to business. Oh, Bowerstone. That's right. Bowerstone theme. Boom. It's quiet. Oh, there it goes. Oh my gosh. Wow. Do I really? Okay, whatever. Wow, this is like hit me right in the nostalgia. That's all fine. Boom, baby. I think that ought to do it. Ugh, God, I don't want to go back through these, but they obviously do have changes, unfortunately. It's just simplest to do it this way. Or you know what? Fine, here. That's all the same. See, it did change. Get this out of here. This out of here. Isn't it so cute? It's so funny to me. Chris is such a small goofball. I really like Chris O'Neill. For those of you who aren't familiar, he has a great Let's Play channel called Oni Plays. Big fan of Chris O'Neill. I'm a big fan of Game Grumps. Big fan of Super Mega. You guys are looking for some great Let's Play content. Okay. Irileth, my favorite. That's okay. That's the same. This one actually does look about the same. Irileth has to be disgusted with us, of course. And, alright, cool. We good. Moving on. That one's okay. Borgak, the Steel Heart. The classic. Getting rid of null perks, I see. Update these skills. Yes, sir. Let's add that as a master, and that'll take like a hot second because there's actually that was faster than I thought. I went through. Here's another thing I did last week: is I ESLified pretty much every plugin that I could, which brought us down to about 200 plugins right now. 200 ordinary ESPs or ESMs, that is, which is still pretty far underneath the limit. But I'm afraid that won't be the case, and I start adding in more mods. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm just really trying to avoid merges, above all. We'll see. Okay, that's fine. Goldear. Golbat. Come hither. There's a guide about it. Opinion character overhauls like Wyko. They're great, Bambi. In fact, it's right here. Well, bad example. This is not the right record. Let me finish this one off. We will see. One. One of the papyrus logs purges as many errors as possible. Recoding, recompiling the scripts. Nice, Sacroletius. That is a bit beyond my pay grade. It's a bit short, evidently. Inigo is not yet included, crad, but very, very likely inclusion in the future. All right, cool. So let's see. Farkas has got to have a Wyco. No? Oh, yeah. So Wyco's in here. The vast majority of the characters in Ultimate Skyrim SE are Dylan James's mods. Absolutely impeccable. Here's my whole kind of thing. I've tested a bajillion NPC mods at this point. There is some fantastic, fantastic work in the sphere of NPC overhauls, right? My thing is consistency above all. So, unfortunately, with some NPC overhauls, they will, like a Baijin would be a good example of this, right? It's beautiful stuff. To me, it doesn't really look like Skyrim. It looks almost just like a different game altogether, right? That these characters are from because of their new appearances. And this issue is exacerbated somewhat because a lot of these NPC overhaul mods will not, they don't do everyone in the game. They just kind of do the select NPCs that they're interested in, which makes perfect sense. I wouldn't expect otherwise. But you end up with this issue where, this person looks like they're from Skyrim, and then this person looks like they're from The Sims or something like that. Exceptions to that would be Dylan James's mods. That's like Whiterun Hold Refine, Markarth Side Refine, Stormcloak Rebellion Refine, things like that. Wyco and NPCO, so that's Windsong Immersive Character Overhaul and Npc Overhaul, respectively. Npc Overhaul is very similar to Wyco. And also generally Northborn NPCs, but Northborn uses occasionally some of the KS hairdos, which to me sometimes look a little bit out of place. But on the whole, Northborn is also quite good. So I would say those four authors and their work is they are my personal favorites. They're the ones who are allowed to take precedent in the vast majority of characters in Ultimate Skyrim SE. They're not looking at NPC conflict resolution. It's a bummer, especially when you have this many NPC overhauls, because then I have to go through and hide or get rid of all the overwritten face masks and tints and stuff. But it's worth it, because then it's beautiful. And yes, Sacroletus, you are, one of those situations. I know that's what you've been saying since the beginning to everybody. Hallgarths, of course, as well. And yes, it's very strange that only Nords get old people races. I guess there's no other old people for any other race. And the Afflicted. Yeah, Dylan James' stuff is just I can't extol it enough. It really is fantastic, because it improves the appearances and it maintains that vanilla feel, and that to me is the most important part, because it just, or take like Pandorables, right? Like Pandorables, among the best work in isolation, perhaps the finest NPC mod out there, in a vacuum. But many of the NPCs, when stacked up against the more vanilla looking NPCs, they just don't. They look like they're from a different game. They look like they're from like The Sims or something like that. And not in every case. Like there are some Pandorables who I still use that look beautiful, but you have to be a bit more careful, because it's very easy for that to happen, I'd say. I was wondering, okay, so this part actually I have to let Minor Arcana not take over or precedent, because this is ESF Companions, baby. Get rid of this. Are there no non-Nordic children? What isn't there like? There's like a Redguard child, or something. I want to say, can't remember though. I've not once ever bothered with the Hearthfire, like adopting children. It's just not my jam. Maybe one day. I've just not really ever played a character where I did it. I'm gonna go. I really want to listen to the Oakvale theme again. Let's jump ahead just a teensy bit. Oh, there we go. Oh, uh-oh. Why? Okay. Oh, I gave him the battle axe, it seems. Unfortunately, a lot of these perks are nulled. There's not really that many either. There's a lot more. This is tricky though. Okay, so I think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually do this. Minor Arcana, you get to give them the perks. I just got to be careful. Because some of these... Oh, is this a separate weapon? Oh. So, Minor Arcana and ESF Companions will step on each other's toes. And in some cases, ESF Companions makes pretty hefty changes to... what sort of style of fighter the companions are. So I do have to be careful. That's tricky. Okay, the class usually. Human Berserker, 2-hand defensive. That's okay. Alright. Why not? Right, every kid is just the same, right? They're just like little potatoes. Yes. Yes, Sacroleus, you are far from alone, it seems. It's just, I guess it's easy to think that, huh? Because when we go on the Nexus, you look at like NPC mods, there's quite a few that are of a very different style, we'll say. There's one now, Taz, that someone recently came out with. Kind of, it's like a high poly overhaul for the hair, like vanilla hairstyles. I think it looks pretty cool. It just doesn't. It's like some hairstyles look a bit weird to me. Oh. Did I do that for Farkas as well? I suppose not. There we go. It's some of the I mean, maybe it's the specific kind of implementation of it, but some of the hairstyles look a little weird when they are made higher poly. Okay, that's all fine. And ESF Companions wants him to have... I think that's okay, right? Still same style of fighter. Two-handed aggressive. Let's see the difference between these. Interesting. This one I have to be kind of careful with too. Because what kind of armor does she have in ESF Companions? I want to say it's like light armors. Yeah, like evasion. Right? Am I right? Yes. I think I'm correct. Steel arrow. That makes sense to me. And the Skyforge bow. This is a problem though. Like, oh, they're just tempers. Okay. Trader, you, sly dog, you. Okay, that's cool. I like that. Never mind. Okay, I will give them. Everyone can have their Skyforge thing. Perfect. Go ahead. It's not. I thought it was like a whole ass proprietary new version of the sword, but of course not. This is the trader we're talking about. This man is a legend. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was my... I don't think that... I mean, I know that the vanilla hairs are a bit blocky and so on, but it just... It fits. I don't know. It just works. It just works. God, did I just say that unironically? Subconsciously, that had to be some sort of influence. Our boy Todd. I'm sorry I'm so yawning today. I was up late last night, actually. I was writing the script for the new, like, intro video, the one that's going to replace the old intro video for Ultimate Skyrim. I've, like, revisited it so many times, just kind of working on it here and there as I work on the build. And sometimes, you know, you're just sitting there and then inspiration hits you and you just got to stay up till 1 typing away in your phone in the dark. I need the gear. No, inventory. Inventory. There we go. Okay, cool. Jesus, sacrilegious. We could put that together, that voice line. Or use, what's it called? I mean, we wouldn't even have to use the machine learning AI voice acting thing, since we could cut that together. Okay, that's all good. My squeaky mouse. It's so cool, that mod, isn't it? Like, just when Peon showed me the video from like 2 years ago, like the progress since then, it's just so nuts. Okay. Boom. That's a good point, Rear Isle. I did not even think about that. I am both interested to see and also terrified. Skyrim Project Optimization. Skyrim Project Optimization, I feel like, is mostly adding occlusion planes to places where they're not in the vanilla game. Is that incorrect to assume? Wait, are we good to go here? We are not. Oh, wait. Nope, we are not. Dude, I feel like that it just shows how many times you've heard those voice lines. Sometimes I hear them in my sleep. Yeah, actually, I've not even really stopped to think about the application of that mod just as like a means of making voice lines less repetitive. Like, that's actually brilliant. It's so cool. It really is like next level stuff. It's subjective then, right? Well, if it's just occlusion planes, then I mean all occlusion planes do is prevent things from rendering. What, Big Hoss, are you on the Skyrim project optimization page? I need to see the screenshots that you're talking about. Okay. Oh, that would be so cool. That it... Right. Okay, this one might be a bit different. What are we doing here? Boom. Hide. Ugh. I'm gonna give him... I like this one instead. Alright, Rhea, what you got for me? I did that for 8th, that's right. I'm having to double check everything just to make sure. Okay, I did. Yeah, how does that work, Sacrilegious? I actually have no idea. The lip sync files. Like, I don't even know how to generate them through the CK. Uh-oh, this one looks like it's going to be... Oh, no. I think we're okay. Rhea is what kind of fighter in this? Light one-handed. Okay. I'll do that one right now, Taz. Sure. Oh, okay, that's fine. Huh, whatever. Nyada Stonearm. Hopefully that's how you pronounce that. Heroes Guild music. Is that the right one? Front mod page provides. Take a look right quick. Oops. Come on. Yeah, so that's just occlusion culling. So these have like no differences between them. They shouldn't. I think it's just supposed to show the occlusion speed. Wow, do they really not have occlusion? Right? See, I mean, these are, it's really, I think there's not supposed to be any sort of difference between these. Or at least nothing I can see. Just occlusion. Let's try this. Heroes Guild music. We actually were just talking about it, Static. It looks really cool. I would... Main theme and guild. Maybe it's this. Ominous. Oops. Ah, yes. I do remember this. Isn't this what plays in like the cutscene that kind of like kicks off the game after the prologue? Dialogue branch. Oh my god. That sounds terrible, Sacrilegious. Yeah, Static, it's very promising. I used to love Civil War Overhaul. Obviously, there was so much to like. It's just, of course, that it had a few outstanding bugs. And, you know, Apollo Down left the same, of course. Ow, God, my back, sorry. Gotta stretch. It's very exciting that it's been picked up again, and it was kind of Apollo Down to release the permissions for all of his stuff, because obviously many of his mods are quite beloved by people. I do remember this. God, I love this game. I feel similarly about Cyberpunk. I've not gotten to play through a lot of it thus far. I'm actually kind of waiting until some of the bugs are fixed, until I have my new PC build. But I feel like there's a very solid game in many ways, just not anywhere close to what their developers kind of hyped them up to be. Yeah, like at minimum, Monique. Yes, Sacrilegious. Okay, that's all good. Oh wow, she has Charge the Blooded in Minor Arcana. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah, I don't pre-order anything really. I don't understand the point. I guess if you were trying to get like pre-order bonuses, but there's never any pre-order bonuses that I really care much about, you know? Oh wow, she's like gnarly. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure something like that might come out, Cisco. God knows it could. You guys see the Kroby Cat video that came out today? It's very unfortunate, but Kroby Cat always does a great job of highlighting issues, we'll say, in a very humorous way. Yes, Monique, I agree. I mean, how can you view like that little video that they put out, that 5-minute apology video? It's like, come on, guys, like, we know you knew far more than what you were saying you knew about the performance on last gen consoles. It's frankly unfortunate, very unfortunate that you think you can say this and that we'd buy it, really. Because why were they telling people not to use their own gameplay footage? Why were they telling people that they couldn't show footage from the old consoles? Like, I mean, you read Jason Schreier's like article. Like, this is pretty far from open and honest communication that it's ostensibly supposed to be, and that's really disappointing. I'm going back to Fable. No. Let's do... Whoa, the original Fable theme was by Danny Elfman? Elfman? I just can't get enough of Oakvale, you know what I mean? It's just too good. It's so, like... It's, like, whimsical, but also kind of, like, dark, you know what I mean? It's kind of, like, in a minor key. Has this very kind of, like... It's both storybook and also, like, ominous storybook. Shroud was very reluctant to use high settings. Fable and Chill. Oh, brilliant. Cool stuff. Also, why do those character models have such huge eyes? His eyes are expressive. Yeah, I guess so, Static. Which is really unfortunate, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, never meet your heroes, I guess. Kill your darlings and all that. That's not really what the kill your darlings expression is for, but if you don't know the context, then maybe it works. Yes, Onion. It's really unfortunate. It's you know, like all these promises of, you know, like these crazy branching storylines and this, you know, everything, all of your choices matter and like ripple out. You knew that shit was gonna, I mean, I think a lot of people saw the writing on the wall and were like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Because it's just like, it's really, really hard to do at the best of times. I guess maybe I thought it was potentially possible because of, you know, how great The Witcher 3 was and The Witcher 2, sort of. The stories themselves were really good. And I feel like probably once I complete Cyberpunk, I'll probably think that the story they put together was like decent. But it is, I think, a pretty far cry from, you know, this crazily branched thing that it was kind of couched as. I mean, God, you listen to some of that promotional material, some of that marketing, and it's like, there's no way that you guys didn't know that the game you're saying this will be and the game that it'll be are so different. Yeah. I mean, I think so, Uncle Robert. I mean, I think it makes it better, frankly. I think that honesty is the way to go. Oh, thank you. Whoa, thank you for the 3-month sub. I'm your Greg. Major thanks, my friend. You are the best. Yeah, it seems that way, Sacroletius. Unfortunately. Or it's like, you know, goddamn, like, tell me what it's gonna be, and I don't mind. But I mean, I get it. Like, I've made similar mistakes in the past, and I'm like a small team. You know what I mean? Static, thank you for the sub. Yeah, that's my concern too, Onion. I think that the most that they could really do is fill out the features of the open world a bit and make it a bit more fun to play around in. But it's the pre-baked story, I think, is going to stay pretty much as baked as it is, because what are they going to do? Like, add whole new missions in and get the VA back in the studio and like add more depth and complexity to the storylines? Like, I doubt it. And is the open world ever going to be anything besides just kind of cosmetic? You know what I mean? What is there to do? What meaningful interactions are there? It's not fucking Bethesda. It's not a Bethesda game where, you know, for all the bugs or whatever, at least it's a full loot RPG where you can kind of pick up and interact with every little thing. And just having that framework, even though you can't really do a lot with a lot of what's in the Bethesda games to begin with, they're obviously like these intensely useful platforms for like modders and stuff to expand upon. You can do so much. Is Cyberpunk that? Like, will it ever be that? Like, I don't know. Yes, the city itself is gorgeous. Visually, it's one of the most well-realized, you know, kind of futuristic cyberpunk settings I think that anyone's ever seen. It's just all window dressing, right? Sure. I mean, Hello Games was a big deal, and No Man's Sky, though, there it's like, No Man's Sky is not a story-driven game. It is a systems-driven game. And the systems are that's something that you can add to after release, right? Like, that's something that you can expand upon by coding and adding, and it's reasonable to add things there. How do you do that with a game like Cyberpunk, where the whole kind of draw is this, you know, branching storyline and voice acting and characters and all that stuff? Like, that's DLC territory at best. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Uncle Robert, because it's and I mean, you could always implement systems into the open world to give players more things to do, but again, I feel like that underlying game, like, there's nothing. You know what I mean? There's nothing to do. Like the most interactivity you have is that you can use a vending machine. There's no interaction with NPCs practically. You might be able to fix up like cops, I guess, and make them fun to fight. That would be about the best thing that I can think of is making like a police chase like halfway entertaining and decent. But I don't know. It's about the only thing. I don't know what, like, otherwise we're talking, I would imagine, some pretty low level system overhauls, and I just don't know what we can realistically expect there. I did not rust. That sounds cool though. Yeah. Well, it's an early access release that was couched as though it was some sort of full, not just a full game, but like a transcendental, the quote unquote next generation of open world game, unfortunately. Which is clearly not what it is. I mean, I kind of get it. I mean, like the hype train is real, but it's like the hype train is what it is because you guys made it that way. I don't get it. Yeah. I guess maybe in the most literal sense, Monique, they were correct. Oh, wait up. Okay. We are going to... Who is this? Torver? Right, combat style. That's fine. The quest was rewritten 12 times and then not used. My God. Yeah, I mean, I mostly avoided everything too, Onion, because I just, like, when they're coming out here saying all that stuff, like, it's like what we're talking about with Fable. Like, most of us, if you're old enough, you've heard this song and dance before. I think at a certain point, you've been burned enough times to where you just kind of wait and see. Like Sacroletia said, it's like, there's no point in pre-ordering. You don't know exactly Sacroletia. It's like, you can see the writing on the wall that at least there is a decent chance that this is not going to be, the best thing since chocolate milk that they claim it to be. You hope for the best, but you don't expect it by any means. Yes, exactly, Monique. It's like I feel like I intentionally didn't get swept up in the hype machine, and I still ended up disappointed. I mean, how can anyone not? How can you play that? And don't get me wrong, I haven't played tremendously far into it. I'm in like Act 2 or whatever. I haven't touched it in weeks. There is a lot to like. There's a lot of cool visuals. The voice acting is generally great. The story thus far is engaging, and it is visually one of the most beautiful, cool, detailed representations of a cyberpunk world. But it's barely even a game in some ways. I don't know. Yeah, like NPC full day life cycle, and then you can watch NPCs just do fucking nothing, which, like, again, don't get me wrong, it's hard to do. It's something I'm gonna have to tackle too with some of the NPCs and stuff, right, that we've added. But I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky to not overhype your game, I guess, because you want to believe so badly that it's going to have all these different things, right? But I don't know. If it doesn't, I mean, I guess that's the problem with these kinds of things, is like the marketing begins years before the development knows where it's going to be. And so you've been promising these things the whole time. What are you going to do? Just be like, actually, it doesn't have this stuff. And you guys should all imagine if they did that, though. Imagine how wild that would be if they just actually we're like, look, you know what? We got to be honest with you guys. Everything we've been saying, we've been hoping very badly that it was going to be that, and we've tried our best to get it there in this amount of time. But if we release it now, it's really not close to what we had envisioned and what we thought we were going to be able to do. So either we release it now or we push it back more. But that would be crazy. That would be nuts. Yes, I think so, Rust. I mean, but you need a certain type of game. A game needs to be built with modding in mind from the beginning. I think that Bethesda games are. I think that the Mount and Blade series is. I do not think that any of CD Projekt Red's games have ever been, to my knowledge. And certainly Cyberpunk 2077 was not. It's, I don't know. Hey, Motions, how you doing? I don't know. I thought Keanu Reeves was going to be less involved than he actually ended up being. And I don't really know. It's like that. I still got to play through the story and whatever. Like, I think the characters thus far are one of the best. I think that CD Projekt Red, after playing The Witcher 2 and 3 to completion, the thing that I have great confidence in is their writing, generally. Having played some of Cyberpunk, I'm now kind of like, well, I think that they were definitely aided by how strong The Witcher was as a series and as an IP. But I think in general the writing's still been quite good. There's some hokey parts for sure. But on the whole, I still think it's pretty fucking good. It's certainly better than most games. It's just that that's not enough to carry the rest of the experience, at least thus far. And yes, the degree to which so many people I feel like must feel underwhelmed, it's massive, because it is so not what it would. Like, I think anyone can forgive a little bit of hyperbole, a little bit of exaggeration for the purposes of marketing, right? A little bit of flowery language to, make it seem super awesome, as long as you are in the ballpark of what you're saying is going to be in the game. And I don't know if it's fair to say that they are, frankly. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's where I'm at, Super Ninja Mofo. It's I'm just, exactly, it's supposed to be a game first, not a movie. I can get that from a movie. Give me something that justifies it being a game and not a movie. And that's not really there. But yeah, it's like Super Ninja Mofo, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I still like cinematic experiences and all that, but the experiences that are far more interesting to me now at this point in my sick gamer career are games with mechanical depth, which is kind of what I've tried to bring to Skyrim through all the brilliant mods. It's the kind of stuff that you find. Like, my goal with Skyrim is to draw from that well of depth that you find in games like Dwarf Fortress or RimWorld. That, like, I want to persist in this world that is beautiful and 3D and rendered and whatever, and also there's like meaningful shit to do. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff to interact with. There's people to interact with. It's not all just window dressing. There's a rhyme and a reason and a purpose to all of it. Where when I look at a manhole cover on the ground, it's not just a manhole cover. It's a manhole cover that leads to a sewer network that runs underneath the local fucking jail that I can sneak into or something, right? It's like when I'm in a store and I see stuff up on the shelves, it's not just window dressing. Those are items that I can purchase, and the items are valuable for a myriad different things. And also, maybe if I go somewhere else in the world, the availability of those items on the shelf varies and will determine the prices that I get. And also the prices that I get are influenced by my character's skills and how well I know the person I'm buying from, and blah, 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 blah. Like, all that stuff that we talk about all the time. Like, that's the kind of game that I want to play. That, to me, like, if you would have taken Cyberpunk, take the world that they built, plug in Bethesda level interactivity, even if it's like Bethesda vanilla baseline, which I think most of us would agree is not particularly deep, but it at least carries the illusion of depth, and at least it's interactive. You know what I mean? Like, you can interact with every fucking thing in vanilla Bethesda games. every person you kill is full loot. You can take their weapon, their like potions. You can take the armor and their boots, their shoes. You know what I mean? Like it stuff like that. It's like, look, I don't even need to take their shoes. I don't want their shoes, but I can. And that is what I think kind of establishes this feeling that you're in a world and not just like you're being taken on a tour of like a bunch of cardboard facades, I guess. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what... Like, so some of those things are addressable. Like, some of the... But you'd have to create entirely new systems to do it. Yeah, like, okay, do you think they would update NPC interaction? Maybe, Crad. Like, maybe. It's something that you could maybe ostensibly do. But the problem is that I mean, reactivity is hard. It's genuinely hard in an open world game. There's so many different extenuating circumstances that you have to program for. It's a question of like, okay, let's say they add NPC interaction. What can you do? Can you just speak to them and like what good, like, okay, let's say they want to add like a disposition system, right? Where you like can make friends with NPCs. What good is it to make friends with some rando NPC on the street who doesn't actually do anything in the world? They don't go and impact anything. It's not Mount and Blade where like every caravan that you meet is actually doing something in the world, carrying goods that when they arrive at their destination will actually impact the stock and the price of like goods. These NPCs, they're not doing anything at all. This is a problem that we encounter in Skyrim even, or like even with all these, you know, NPC mods that I have running. It's way better, don't get me wrong. You have NPCs that are going around the world doing things more or less, but things is generally like fighting other factions and stuff, and they carry items that are pertinent to their factions and, you know, the characters that they are, so that's all cool in like a full loot RPG. But in Cyberpunk, my point being, like, you know, the NPCs in Skyrim, like a caravan of traders, unfortunately, as of now, when it arrives at whatever town it's going to, they're not buying or selling anything that's gonna impact the trade for you, right? Not yet, anyway. But it's still something, right? It's still some level of interactivity and meaningful interaction. And where is that in Cyberpunk? What would that even look like? What would interacting with an NPC reasonably get you? You could be like, maybe you give someone a gift, they give you one back or something. I don't know. I don't know what the hell are they going to do. Yeah, Onion right here. What are those NPCs in Cyberpunk going to do? I don't know. Sorry, I got caught up in my rant. I got to catch up with chat. Also, Hollow Knight's the best. Dolce. I doubt I'll use better vampires, but I have plans to use Sacrosanct, which is really good. Warhorse Studios. Oh yeah, Warhorse Studios. Like, that was... I really enjoyed Kingdom Come Deliverance. I never finished it, but I played it on the channel, and it was probably my favorite game that I played on the channel. Same thing, it's like, you know, I'm sure certain parts aren't as fleshed out, but that felt way more interactive. And that's like, there you go. There's a game it's like, you can't pick up every little object the way that you can in Bethesda games, but it still felt way more alive. Maybe I just need to spend more time with it. And also, yeah, Sacrilegious, it's how I feel about ESO. That's just MMOs, right? They're just not those kinds of games. It's not, I mean, what we're talking about here is sandbox. We're talking about systems-driven sandbox design. And that's just not what MMOs are. Like theme park MMOs, some MMOs are, obviously. And that's certainly not what like Cyberpunk is. I didn't know Warhorse was bought. Right, yeah, Dubwiser. That GTA San Andreas recruiting random gang members, that's already, like, that is more interaction than CD Projekt. And I mean, they could add something like that, but it's like, that's Saints Row. You know what I mean? Like, what, 2006, San Andreas before that. I don't know. Sacrilege by Enai. Yes, I have heard of that, Uncle Robert. I think so. Enai, I know that I've actually heard him or seen him speak about it on like the Wabjack server and elsewhere. I think he's frustrated by vanilla plus approaches, or like it was like I can't remember what it was. I think he expected more of a response to the vanilla plus kind of like stripped down versions, but I think people generally more prefer like Sacrosanct and some of the more fully featured. I think I might, but I can't say. Role-playing is just for fluff, isn't supported by game mechanics. Yes, 300% what you were saying, Sacrilegious. I always call it the marriage of role-play and gameplay. Role-playing is fun, but role-playing for the sake of role-playing with no gameplay impact to me is just not interesting. I want there to be gameplay reasons for me to do the role-playing activities that I already want to do. And there's so many, like, you know what to me is one of the best examples of this, right? Is Frostfall's, or I guess it's Campfire, but Campfire and Frostfall interacting with each other, right? Like building a fire by your tent at night is not only something that you would realistically have to do, but it's something like it's not for show, like in the game, right? Like there's weather survivalism with Frostfall if you haven't installed, so you need to build a fire to get warm. But also, this I think is so brilliant. When you build a fire and you build it to a sufficient size in Campfire, you get a small buff to your experience gain called inspiration, or like it's like you're inspired or you're uplifted. I can't remember what it is. There's two different ones. One's stronger, but it's this small little touch that it's like, hey, this campfire keeps you warm and you can cook stuff on it. So that's all meaningful interaction with the campfire. Also, you get a little buff to experience because you were inspired looking at the campfire. How many anyone who's ever gone camping and looked at a campfire knows that feeling of like looking at a fucking campfire and just feeling like a little something special. You would want to do that anyway, just to role play. And if you do it, there's a gameplay response. It's the same thing with like, a bathhouse, right? Like how many times have you gone into like a jacuzzi, sat down, and like, soaked for a little bit, and of course it like lightens your mood or whatever. If you're gonna give me like in the game, you give me like a bathhouse that I can go and sit in, that's cool. Like I would do that in real life, or I could see my character doing that or whatever. But there needs to be like something needs to happen. Either I get clean, or I get some sort of similar buff, right? Maybe like my muscles are more relaxed. Maybe I'm a bit more limber for a little bit. Something like that. Preferably both. Preferably something like that. Also, yes, Uncle Robert, please do. I mean, anyone who's ever played an Enai mod knows that they are just of the utmost quality, and I think he's one of he is a modder who has one of the most developed senses of fun, I think, in the modding scene, and deserves all your praise, of course. I feel you though, Monique. The complexity can be really tough, and that's why I always like have to balance, right? Like we were talking earlier about the like carry weight mechanics, and it's like I could add a mechanic in that makes it so you only have specific slots for arrows or books or potions and weapons. You can only carry this many weapons, like whatever. It would be one thing if the game was built for that to begin with, and it was like visually intuitive or intuitive within the UI, things like that. But it's not, and so I wonder, like, here, instead of going the hyper realism, it's like, I can pretty much accomplish the same goal by just, reducing carry weight and then rename carry weight to encumbrance value, like in D&D. And then ipso facto, people are now encouraged to be careful with what they pick up, right? Which is the end goal of the system. It's like by making it so much more complex, am I making it better? Is it serving its purpose better? I don't know. I think arguably not. Yes, Uncle Robert. That's like the kind of feel that I got from Enderall. It was like, and it's a little different. I think Enderall is not supposed to be this big old simulated world. It's supposed to be a story-driven game. It's almost like like a linear RPG that is just kind of coincidentally set in an open world, semi-open world, which is it's no problem. It's like that kind of game. I think it's so strong narratively from the very beginning that really is the through line. But there's not going to be a reason to go around and do stuff, really, I think, in most of the locations there. And that's fine. It's just the kind of games that I'm interested in now, especially if we're in an open world, baby. Like, why don't you justify to me why this game is in an open world and not just a big corridor, right? An interesting, I think, example for discussion here would be like Red Dead Redemption 2. I love Red Dead Redemption 2 in a lot of ways. I think that the open world in Red Dead Redemption 2 is not a waste. I think that some of the reason that it's even semi-justified to me is that it's so beautiful, and the level of immersion you can get from just having the freedom to kind of explore this visually beautiful world is really solid. And at least for the beginning, it kind of tricks you into thinking that there's more going on within the open world than there actually is. But at the end of the day, the open world in Red Dead Redemption 2 is very similar to Cyberpunk, frankly, in that it's window dressing. All of the missions do not take advantage of the open world in any way, shape, or form. When I think open world, I think, I think like I think the original Far Cry, even with its like somewhat linear levels, like the more open levels, that they provided an open world that was more meaningful than what you get in the missions of Red Dead Redemption 2. In Red Dead Redemption 2, it might as well be Uncharted in every mission, right? Because you have to do everything exactly the way that they want you to do it. It is the same, like for everybody. There is no reason that the game even takes place in an open world in regards to like the story. Which it's fine. It's just like it's not pushing the envelope of what an open world can be, right? You want a game that is really pushing the envelope of what open worlds can do. Look at Dwarf Fortress. I don't play Dwarf Fortress myself. I would really like to. It's so complex to get into, which is like that whole other discussion. But that's a fucking open world game. That is a game where the open world itself, you have total freedom and everything is systems driven. All the interactions are systems driven. The world is doing shit, whether or not you are there to see it. Mount and Blade, same thing. The world itself, it is an open world game. It might as well be like a giant board, right? Like the overworld map. It's almost like a board game. But every little piece, every faction, every caravan, every army, every person on that open world is doing something according to its systems. And those systems are affecting other systems. That's like a crazy open world to me. The Witcher 3, to answer your question, The Witcher 3 is another game where it's like about the only benefit that you really get from the open world is that you can kind of immerse yourself in the visuals of the world and kind of get a feel for what the world is supposed to be, and that part's cool. And you can choose which missions to do when. But that's it. The open world, it doesn't matter otherwise. It does nothing that the game wouldn't do if it were set in a linear corridor, right? It's like, I mean, maybe the other part is that, it's like there are certain interactions and stuff that are like in the open world that you can find and witness. Same thing with Red Dead Redemption 2. I guess it really comes down to a game. Is this game systems driven or is it like story driven with window dressing along the way? And for The Witcher 3, for Red Dead Redemption 2, it's very much the latter. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's at this point, I've seen it so many times. It'd be one thing if in The Witcher 3 or in Red Dead Redemption 2, I got a mission that says, hey, here's this big area. What if it was like, the Far Cry games, right? Where like at least Far Cry games, those are open worlds. There's an open world that is somewhat systems driven, or at the very least, you know, it's like here's a settlement. Here's where all the enemies are. Here's all the little things you can interact with in the settlement. Go at it however you want. That's the cool part of open worlds to me. It's that feeling of, how do I want to go about this based on the skills and resources that my unique character has? And how might that be different of an experience than a different type of character? That to me is what I'm interested in an open world. It's just cooler, you know what I mean? Because then that's what creates emergent stories. That is you know, it's like Far Cry 2. It's like, oh, like I remember being a kid, right? And it's like, yeah, you know that one, like that enemy stronghold near like the mountains. Like, what did you do? It's like, oh well, I snuck around the west side, and you know, I planted C4 on, or oh fuck, how have we not even mentioned this? Metal Gear Solid 5, dude. You want to talk about like an open world that reacts and like is cool as hell to like play. Like, it's exactly what I'm talking about here. Metal Gear Solid 5, take a mission, right? The open world ones, not the weird linear ones that it's like, what the hell is this doing in this game? It feels like a completely different game. It's like, here's the enemy base. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Here's a bunch of tools. Go nuts. Have a sandbox. Are you going to drive a Jeep in, guns blazing? The Jeep has a bunch of C4 all attached to it, and then you drive it right into where the fucking oil barrels are, and you dive out, and it blows up, and then you kill like 10 different people that are around there. There's no one else even around, so then everyone else who hears the explosion comes running to the distraction, and meanwhile, you've already escaped out the south gate, and you're going around the other side because no one's there anymore. Or are you fucking just like in the mountains with a sniper rifle, just fucking with them, killing off so many people until you're absolutely sure that it's no longer safe and whatever? Like, that's open world shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like, that's taking advantage of an open world is what I'm saying. A lot of people, as a counterpoint, have said that like the story in Metal Gear Solid 5 really suffered compared to the other games. I would agree with that, right? Like, I love the Metal Gear Solid series. I think that the story in 5 is like, who cares? Because a lot of the time, like, these open world games and these pre-baked stories, the effectiveness of stories often depends on the storyteller really being able to force you to interact with certain parts of the story at very specific times. Pacing is the most difficult part of storytelling, and when you give players control in an open world, ipso facto, wow, it's really hard to tell a well-paced story when the character has a great degree of control over when and where they do certain things and whatever, right? It's kind of like, why do developers keep trying to tell? Why do they keep trying to mix these two pieces, right? Like, these pre-baked, intentionally paced, emotionally resonant stories. It's way harder to accomplish something like that with a systems-based, sandbox-based game. It's possible, I guess, but those kinds of stories, you're going to get that out of Uncharted. You're going to get that out of The Last of Us. I don't know if you're ever going to get that from an open world game, and it seems like a lot of developers are hell-bent on trying. It's, you know, we're going to have this crazy, well-paced, pre-baked storyline, and it's going to be set in an open world. Why? The amount of time that you spent trying to fit this in, you're trying to fit a round peg into a square hole in my mind, or at the very least, like, I've not seen a game that really managed to pull it off thus far. I hope I'm not boring you guys with this insane. We're already at 2:50. I'm about to sign off the stream anyway at 3 o'clock, but I love discussions like these. I love talking with you guys about this kind of stuff. Yes, I mean, that Rockstar Games, it's like they have the linear stories part and the open world part. And the only reason that it works okay is that the linear storytelling part is really good, and the open world part generally is really good. They're both fun, but they're two totally different types of fun. It's like you're getting you're getting two games in one, but they are not the same game. And it's like this part and this part, they don't mix, right? They exist in the same disc that you purchased, but they really are like two different games. And that's not bad necessarily, but that's what you're getting. You're not getting some sort of experience that is somehow incorporating both. Well, that's what I want. I don't know. Like, okay, right here I just saw, DayZ, interesting open world game, right? Other players of the characters, they can change. Sure. Well, so DayZ kind of hits this in the same way. Like I saw someone mention Dwarf Fortress, right? Yeah, on the extreme end of the spectrum, Dwarf Fortress, all randomly generated doing its systems. There's no real story unless you make one, but there's crazy story happening in the same way that, like, this is what I'm trying to bring to Skyrim. The stories that are happening are not pre-baked, but there are certainly stories happening, and they're all happening organically, dynamically, emergently is the word, right? They when one character, like a character in Dwarf, like here's something that can happen in Dwarf Fortress. A dwarf is out working in the fields and it starts raining, so they get really upset. They come inside and then find out that their dog died, which makes them even more upset. So then they go to the local bar, they get super drunk, they get into a fight with a bunch of other dwarves, and those dwarves end up actually killing that dwarf, and then the dwarves who killed the dwarf then have PTSD from this terrible interaction that has happened. Then they go off to do the rest of their lives, and then that PTSD that they have from having that drunken death interaction in the bar sticks with them and causes them to do other things. That's open world storytelling, baby. That is systems interacting in an unpredictable and emergent way to create stories that are not pre-baked, but in many ways are as meaningful or even more meaningful because they occurred not in spite of the open world. That's what, Rockstar games and all those games, those stories occur in spite of the open world. Nothing you do in the open world is ever going to change the story in a Rockstar game. In this type of thing that I'm talking about, the open world is what's creating the story, baby. That's the story. The open world is a bunch of crazy things interacting, and that's where the story is born, right? It's just kind of like how it seems to me. And of course, here the trick becomes, like, Dwarf Fortress has taken 15 years to build out, and like when you have everything systems driven this way, the kind of double-edged sword of it is that you really have to be okay with things not quite playing out the way that you might expect or hope, because the game just does. Like, if you've ever played RimWorld or any of those, the game just goes. It does things, and your best laid plans of mice and men might go up in smoke because of, I don't know, because one of your characters decided they like to be a cannibal and then they ate your favorite other character. You know what I mean? I think really the only place that you get this is in like sandbox MMOs like Albion Online, or Eve is the classic other one. Hold on, let me scroll down. Oh, you guys are talking about Albion and Eve right there. Monique is talking about Eve. That's exactly it. And yes, and here's the trade-off is that I think when you create these stories through other player interactions, like other human player interactions, it's tough because not all of us have the kind of time to dedicate. I think it's harder to play those games casually. So it's like there's always trade-offs, and this is why you can imagine why Rockstar games, for example, instead of building I'm sure that Rockstar games could make a pretty crazy pass at an open world like the one we're talking about. But they choose not to because it's harder for them to control, and they want an experience that they can kind of, specifically impart. But I do wonder, like for me, games like Mount and Blade or Dwarf Fortress or RimWorld are interesting because they're offline. They give you a sandbox. It's a sandbox, but it's self-contained, and you have a lot more control over what's going on than you do in something like Albion or Eve. Because that's other players, or DayZ, other players that are creating the content. You have far less control. You're kind of just along for the ride. I think a single-player sandbox game like what I'm describing kind of hits some great elements of both worlds. You have something that is emergent in its storytelling and unpredictable, but everything is not so outside your control that you are just completely, you know, a log being swept along by the river, right? I just think that's really cool. Anyway, I think about a lot about like trying to build a game like Skyrim, right? Or like an open world kind of first person RPG, direct control RPG that kind of hits some of these notes. I think about like, what if you had this? Is this a game that you guys would be interested in? Would be like, you have like a whole ass world that is simulated almost in like the way that, you know, Dwarf Fortress or Mountain Blade or whatever is. And within that world, there's all, you know, individual NPCs, characters that have system-based personalities. So, you know, like traits and likes and dislikes that are all kind of determined by systems and perhaps by a degree of randomness and whatever. Those systems then determine how they interact with other characters as well. Thank you for hanging out, Sacrolettes. Yeah, very rim-worldy in that regard. But what you could do is jump into, like, what if you could play it perhaps as like a sim, or you could directly control like any one of the NPCs in this world, right? It's like just like step into the shoes of one of those NPCs and like play as them, play with their factional relationships, play with their specific traits and skills and whatever. And then maybe if that character dies, then it's like you just, you know, go pick a different person to play as, like in this world, right? Does that make sense? It's like an idea that I flirt with a lot. I don't know. And like sometimes I think like, what if the whole world was like kind of systemically generated, almost like something like Minecraft? Yeah, like first person Crusader Kings. Crusader Kings hits a lot of these notes, but imagine if instead of the whole game being played out on a board, it was like you actually got to be in the game. Sometimes I think like, should the world be like the way that Mountain Blade is, for example, is the, you know, the cities and the towns and the lands and the cultures, those are all predestined. Those are all, thanks for hanging out, Uncle Robert. I'm going to end the stream too, guys. I got to get back to dev work pretty quick, but I do love this stuff. Thank you all for participating here. We'll see if there's anyone to raid. I mean, long story short, just like, would that kind of game be better like with Mountain Blade, where, you know, the whole world is kind of, it's predetermined, and maybe all the different characters in it are predetermined, because that way you would be able to kind of like write little stories, or write, you know, maybe this character is married to that character and has this child, and this character feels this way about this character, and whatever. You have a little bit more control. Or is the whole thing algorithmically generated? There's pros and cons to either approach, but this is the kind of, like, one day I would love to do something like this. There's an RTS like this, Battlezone. I feel like I know Battlezone. Anyway, I went way off on a tangent here. I picked up a lot of what you guys were saying. I saw Taz's comment about Hitman games really touching on a lot of these points. Yeah, of course, all the Paradox RPGs. What was Battlezone? I want to say that's like a mech game. Combat. Oh, yeah. You know, I played the second Battlezone on N64. Right, where you can like jump into any ship is like what you're thinking. Yeah, so I mean, here's like what it is, right? There's elements of games like this all across the board. And there's games like Kenshi. Like Kenshi is very similar to what I'm describing, except for it doesn't quite have, you know, that level of like immersion and graphics where like if you jumped in, or like Stalker Azazel mode. Anyone familiar with that? Where it's kind of like what I'm saying here, where you have like this world and, you know, all the characters doing stuff, but you can kind of just like jump from character to character, and kind of live in their shoes, so to speak. It's all very inspiring to me. It's all very interesting. But in the meantime, I got to focus on the immediate future, which is at least imparting some of these ideas into Skyrim, right? That's the plan. Anyway, thank you guys for humoring me and my rants and so on and so forth. It really is fun for me to be able to discuss this stuff with you guys. I don't get to do that tremendously often. And I really appreciate you all sticking around for the stream. I promise that now that I'll be offline, I will get development done faster. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Let's go ahead and see who is streaming. See if there's anyone. Oh, okay. We're rating Balian. There it is. Love the way Skyrim let me immerse in a fantasy world like that. Yes, I mean that's I agree. I feel the same way, and that's why it's like I guess it's kind of just like seeing all these different games that are doing all these really cool things, right? And being like, what would my perfect game look like, and how would it kind of incorporate all these features? I don't have an answer yet, but I promise I'm always thinking about it. And I guess Ultimate Skyrim is kind of my attempt to practice, right, to make something like that a reality. And yes, I think that AAA is really unfortunate, because it's like if you do, like, a AAA game needs to appeal to a very wide audience, so it's difficult to get super experimental, and these are experimental ideas, you know? Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Let's go ahead and... Is this working? Why is this not? Raid Balian. There we go. Balian, for those of you who don't know, is an excellent gameplay streamer, kind of immersive role-playing streamer. He plays a lot of Ultimate Skyrim, a lot of other games too. And I will see you guys next week at the same time. So again, thank you for joining me. Please stick around for Balian if you don't know him. He really is amazing. And I will see you guys next Monday. Have a great week. Stay safe. I gotta wait 5 seconds before we can raid. But take care of yourselves, everyone. It's crazy times right now, of course. Just stay safe and be kind to yourselves and to your loved ones, and promise everything will be A-okay. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
The scan secret code giveaway has finished, and that's my fault for not removing it. But